coming off of Aircap Drive, that traffic pattern did not change when they shifted the work to the north half, and so there was still just one lane coming off of Aircap Drive. I'm happy to report as of yesterday, they went ahead and restriped it, so now there's 2 lanes, so that way people could go either westbound or eastbound. The new exterior grant program started. Council approved that back in January. The application starting date was February 1st, and as of today, we have 6 applications turned in so far, which is good. At our next council meeting, Wendy Stark with the Kansas Counts 2020 census effort will be coming before the council, and she's going to provide an overview on the progress and the resources that will be made available to the city starting April 1st. Last council meeting, you received an update on the 53rd Street lift station, that it was encountering some problems and needed to be taken care of. Well, happy to report the station is up and running with no issues at this time. And then finally, just this one happened today, the restaurant formerly the Cancun Mexican Grill, it opened up again today. It's going to be Los Azteca Mexican Grill. They've received all their required permits from the Department of Agriculture as far as a health permit, their drinking established permit and everything, and we wish them the best. So pending any questions, that's all I have, sir.
John, you've got a question?
In reference to the sump pump thing, I'm just kind of foreseeing, usually is what happens. We do everything we can to get information out on those, and then when it happens, it's like nobody told us. So I'm just curious, I know you covered social media. Do we push anything in the post about the sump pump stuff? And I apologize if I... Go ahead. Perfect. I would say if we could do that every week and just the deadline on it, I feel like I'm just seeing that someone's going to say we didn't know about it, and the more the merrier. So thank you.
Yes, sir.
Ben?
Sure. And to that, I know that there's a lot that receive their water bills and such electronically, but some probably by mail. Is there any way that we could add maybe something to that portion that gets either mailed out or emailed just about?
The water bill that we get right now allows for about 1 sentence to describe what you'd like to, the message that you'd like to get across.
Okay, so that's obviously...
So it's more of a postcard type setup rather than an actual mailer that goes.
Okay.
So.
Any other questions? Seeing none, we'll move on. Consent agenda for motion.
I'll make a motion we approve the consent agenda.
I'm sorry, John.
That's all right.
Okay. Brandy?
I'll second the motion.
Okay. Got a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? None? Okay. Under new business, item 5, discuss and receive annual Park City BMX report. Jamie Johnson this time. I read the wrong slip earlier.
So we're just here to kind of let you guys know where we're at in terms of what we have going on at the track. And granted, we weren't out there all year. We took over out there in June. So since then, you can see on the graph, we've taken the rider count from 7 to 75, and that is current as of yesterday. So that is amazing. We've talked to USA BMX in terms of a national for the track, and they told us we're well on our way to reaching those numbers to be able to do that. As far as getting the sign up out there, we are in the process of purchasing a container. It's a sight box, and we're going to put it on the outside of that to get the Park City sign up. Okay. And then we have dirt being donated. We're going to add to the track and redo some sections to get it where it should be, to bring more people into the track.
Okay. Any questions for Jamie? Okay. George?
Yeah. I've been by there several times. I'm really encouraged by the progress that you folks have made. And I've seen a lot of folks riding it, whereas before not so many. So I appreciate the fact that you're keeping it up and letting riders ride it and people come on board. and hopefully a national maybe down the road. So I appreciate your help. Thank you.
Ben?
Yeah, I just want to also say thank you all for the work that you all do in making this BMX park a success. I've seen what you all have done and know a little bit on the story getting to where you are today. And I just want to say thank you all for taking the time to invest in our city and in the kids in our community as well, who also benefit. I know it benefits citizens outside of Park City, but to our local community itself, you all do a great job. I just want to say thank you all for the work that you do.
Thank you.
I'd like to say I drove by Sunday afternoon again. It's outstanding. Looks good from the road from 135. I've said it before. You guys are doing a good job.
Thank you.
Thank you. Can we get a motion?
No.
Oh, George?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to receive and file the Park City BMX annual report.
Brandy?
I second the motion.
Okay. Got a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 6, discuss and consider drinking establishment waiver for Spangles Restaurant located at 1023 East 61st Street North.
Yes, sir. According to our municipal code, section 3-102, it restricts the sale of alcohol liquor, otherwise known as drinking establishments, by a business located within 300 feet of any church, school, nursing home, hospital, measured from the nearest property line without receiving a waiver of the distance limitation by the governing body. Our municipal code also requires that the governing body shall grant such a waiver only following a public notice and a hearing, and a finding by the government body that the proximity of the establishment is not adverse to the public welfare or safety. This evening we have Mr. Dave Duman, who is the applicant of record and will be available to answer any questions council may have.
George?
Yeah, I know they call that a drinking establishment, but actually it's a food establishment that wants to serve alcoholic beverage. Several years ago, we went through this with the library, when the library was over in the shopping center, and with the eating establishment just a few doors down serving alcoholic beverage, and it was waived in. There was absolutely no problems. To me, just my personal observation, a drinking establishment's where you go to sit and drink. But a food establishment is a place where you go to eat, and sometimes some people want a drink with their meal or before their meal or after. I think there's two different ways to look at that. Just one of my observations. And I will say this, Spangles has been a very good business for our city.
George, or Ben?
Yeah, so this might be naivety, or is that the right word? Naiveness concerning alcohol and drink. I'm not a drinker, so I don't understand necessarily some of the dynamics there or some of the parts that go into this. When they are being served here at Spangles, I'm guessing that these, and I'm sorry, I guess this is for you, sir, to maybe be able to answer this a little clearer. I'm not when on city staff, I'm sure can address it, but when they are getting their drinks there, the ones that contain alcohol in them, are those alcoholic beverages served from behind the counter then, or are they open, such as their refill stations?
Well, we wouldn't be in business very long if it was free refills. We'd be in here for a building expansion permit, taking out the whole neighborhood. So, no, it's as most everyone knows, the alcohol beverage control very closely monitors and approves what can be done. This has been a very expensive project for us, with all the licenses and fees, and it's company-wide with 27 locations. It's a pretty large task, but we actually anticipate doing at this Park City store, we'll probably do less than 1% of sales will be alcohol related. The typical ratio for the state is, for a drinking establishment is a 30%, maintain at least a 30% food ratio. It will be 99% food. The purpose of the alcohol is, and I've been in this business since the 70s, the early 70s, and ever since then, fast food restaurants have a hard time getting guests in the evening. During the day, everybody's busy, running around, grab something quick and go. Well, we do 70% of our business, if you can believe it, is drive-through. So only 30% of the business comes inside. Alcohol cannot be sold through the drive-through, so if you want it, you have to come in and get it. The intention is, just like we do Monday Night Madness, half-price burgers, 5 to 10, that's because Monday, 15 years ago, Mondays were just slow and we were trying to figure out a way to bring people in, and people live for it, and they're religious. They're there every weekend or every Monday. So the goal here is to bring people in the evening when they would traditionally go to a more casual dine restaurant where they would sit down and relax and take it easy. So this brings people in, they sit down, they buy food, puts people in our lobby, doesn't really hurt the drive-through business. We got these big, beautiful lobbies, and everybody's driving through because they're in a hurry, so we're trying to help bring up those evening sales. So that's really the gist of why it is. But margaritas are sold. We had to decide how we would manage not letting people take the liquor out of the store. So we actually went to the expense of using glass mugs. So we've got 2 sizes of glass mugs. So we haven't lost many of them. Most of the ones we lose are from breakage, so people aren't walking out the door with them. But that's how we control keeping them in. If we gave them a styrofoam cup, you know what would happen. So we have to make every effort to comply by the law and do our best, make our best efforts to make sure alcohol doesn't go outside the location. But that's kind of the gist of it.
Now, is there anything as far as the process goes on this exemption as to set certain hours or parameters around the exemption? And the reason I say that, the biggest reason is, again, we have Chisholm Trail right there, and that's a heavily walked to school. There's kids there all the time. And I understand there's obviously precautions that you're taking, and I appreciate that very much. But with the number of students that would be walking through that during the daytime, that would be a concern, I think, would be in that as far as the safety portion, which is why the ordinance was there to begin with. Would we be able to put exemptions with that?
Not in my opinion. Okay. It's up and down. It's a waiver of the distance limitation, and it's either you waive it or you don't.
Okay, thank you.
George?
Yeah, I had a question. Do the Spangles consider themselves to be an established family eating facility?
Yeah, we do. We have not honestly been able to ever compete with McDonald's as far as the kids' business. We tried for years and years and years, and then we finally said, we just don't have the buying power to compete with kids' toys and the type of things they get in Happy Meals. So kids tend to want to go to McDonald's. But
yeah, I have a basic concern about this, the influence the kids would have coming into that facility, seeing alcohol served. For me, a family-oriented facility, that's just me, is not serving any alcohol, but be more family-oriented. I think Park City as a whole is family-oriented. I'm not saying that, for me personally, that's the way I think it should be. Bringing alcohol into your facility, I think, would set a precedent against that family-oriented community that we have here in Park City. So I won't be voting for it. Thanks.
John, you had your light on. Did you?
I was just gonna ask the hours. No, I'm good. I mean, it sounds to me like the target is in the evenings anyway. I mean, I just don't see a lot of people drinking margaritas for breakfast, but
Be
unless
surprised.
you have tacos. But I'm good.
Melvin?
Do you have a limit on how many they drink, or do you have somebody kind of monitoring the people inside?
I'm sorry, could you repeat?
Do you have a limit on how many drinks they can have, or?
ABC leaves it to our discretion. We do ID anybody that even comes close to looking a little bit too young. If somebody comes in and walks up to the counter and wants to buy 4 margaritas, we want to see who he's serving them to, and if need be, go verify the age. ABC doesn't really set a restriction for that, but it's best judgment, and cashiers can actually be held personally liable, not the company, but a cashier for selling underage, or so they're all very well aware. And we just had 200 people in a meeting out at the airport DoubleTree today with ABC and Wichita detectives and so forth, reviewing all the parameters again. We've been through it several times.
So are your people kind of trained to kind of look and see if they're getting a little soused or something, and
Oh yeah,
kind of cut them off? Okay.
yeah. It's
And how does the chief feel about this? Or do you see any problem with it, or it being an issue?
What are the hours when it serves at any time that the business is open? Is that the intent?
drinking establishment can serve between I think 6 a.m. and 2 a.m. We're open 6:30 or 6 to 6:30. Different stores. So 11 p.m. Not too many people are drinking in the morning.
Anytime the business is open, then it's served. And I don't know what the original intent was behind this ordinance. If it was to keep bars from being next to schools, I don't know. The street there, I think everybody knows, is a very busy intersection when kids are coming and going, particularly in the afternoon. We have to go down there and have officers to direct traffic because it gets so congested. So add alcohol to that mix. It's probably not a good thing, in my opinion.
Okay, thank you.
John?
I was curious, did you run into this same type of ordinance in Wichita or any other surrounding communities where you're located?
Park City is the only place I've had any issues so far. Every other city, and Wichita has been the toughest of all of them. They have more requirements, but it's kind of like state and city regulations. You know, regardless of whichever one of them has the highest level of whatever, you have to abide by that. So, you know, basically every one of our stores abides by City of Wichita regulations.
Thank you.
Ben again?
Yeah, I'm sorry, just to add to that there, John asked about if this is the only city that you've run into this issue. Is that because this is the only city that you've been this close to a school, or is it because no other city has these ordinances that you run into?
Every city has the same type of ordinances as far as relation to schools, churches, and so forth. Honestly, this is the only one that was close enough. Most of the others are 200 or 250 feet, and I think yours was 300.
200? 300? Okay. Do they fall within a 200 feet limit?
Yes, they do.
George?
Well, you know, I kind of got mixed emotions about this, like everyone else. I know I was just sitting there thinking, within 2 blocks. There's 1, 2, 3. I know there's 3 drinking establishments within just a couple of blocks, especially one just down the street that is probably sells more alcohol than any place in town. But it's also an eating establishment, but it's in the same vicinity. I don't know. I got mixed emotions about it. It's kind of a tough call.
John?
I was just thinking, doesn't ABC, don't they regulate the times of business for sale of liquor? Not necessarily beer, but liquor?
Yes.
So how early you're saying you're going to...
It's 6 a.m. to 2 a.m.
6 a.m.?
Yeah.
Wow, I thought they were more strict on the liquor sales.
Mm-hmm.
That just changed a few years ago.
But our experience, so far, yeah, it's like I said. I mean, it will probably, at this location, will be maybe 0.5% of sales.
And in the mornings, it's probably going to be lower.
Pardon?
Morning sales would probably be even lower than that.
Well, mornings is almost zero.
Yeah, okay.
I can look up on my phone any time of the day and see who's selling what. And
I got you. So I feel like we had a good discussion. I think we need to either decide or do what we need to do. So I'm going to make a motion to approve a waiver. Go ahead.
Sir, we have to have a public hearing.
Isn't that what we're doing?
We need to open it up for public comment.
Oh, yeah, we need to do that first. Yeah, there's another item on here for public hearing.
Okay.
So we hold off on that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions up here? I don't see any lights, so move on to the next phase.
Yes, sir. Open it up to a public hearing if anybody in the audience would like to come speak for or against.
Okay, and it's 7:27 approximately? Okay, is there anybody in the audience who would like to speak to this? Don't see anybody that's interested, so I'll close it. My watch says 7:28. Okay, now I'll move back to John.
Okay, so I would make a motion to approve a waiver for a drinking establishment license for Spangles, 1023 East 61st Street North, Park City, Kansas.
Okay, Brandy?
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Nay. See hands. Okay, opposed? 2. Did you get that?
I didn't see how you voted.
Pardon?
I didn't see your vote.
Oh, I was up for the aye.
Okay. I apologize.
It was 6-2 or 4-2?
5-2.
5-2.
Got a little different perspective counting here. Move on to item 7. Discuss and consider a resolution delineating the boundaries of the city of Park City as of December 31st, 2019. Doug?
Yes, President and Council, this is an annual exercise that we're required to go through by state statute. For your information, there were no changes to our boundaries in the calendar year 2019, so we're merely adopting the resolution that replicates the boundaries as they existed in December of 2018. So I would recommend that you adopt the resolution.
Okay. Brandy?
Since there's no changes to this, I'll move to approve Resolution 1042-2020 defining the corporate boundary of the city of Park City, Kansas as of December 31st, 2019.
John?
Second.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, thank you.
It's an ordinance.
It's an ordinance.
It's an ordinance, right? Oh, resolution. Oh.
Oh, it's a roll call? Sorry.
No.
No. Okay.
Thank you.
Move on to item 8. Discuss and consider approval approving a replacement of motor grader. Eric?
Thank you, Mr. President, Council. The current Public Works motor grader is a 1985 Champion Model 720A. It was purchased in 1992 for a cost of $37,500 and currently has 4,800 hours on it. Over the past couple of years, it's been taking substantial effort to keep it operating, as it's difficult to find replacement parts. Public Works maintains 7 dirt roads throughout the city, and this piece of equipment is vital to that process. The cost of a new grader ranges from $225,000 and up, and which prompted staff to research gently used machines. Working with Foley equipment, staff has located a 2014 case model 865B for $100,000, with a trade-in allowance of $10,000 for our old grader. Although a 5-year lease purchase financing is available at 3.85%, our annual payments will be $22,904.79. Staff is recommending purchase of the grader utilizing the Special Streets and Highways Fund. This is unbudgeted. FY 2020 budget has $274,000 budgeted under Special Streets and Highways Funds, capital outlay. Staff recommends purchasing the 2014 case model 865B motor grader for $90,400, and the $400 of that is the document fees. And attached in your packet is the Foley equipment proposal.
Any questions of Eric? Ben?
Yeah, thank you, Eric, for doing the work on getting this there, and I'd like to make a motion to approve the purchase of a 2014 case model 865B motor grader for $90,400 to be paid out of the Special Streets and Highway Funds capital outlay.
George?
I'll second the motion.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Yes, sir. I just want to add to that. The previous owner of this grader actually bought a third-party warranty that does come with it. It's a 5-year, 4,000-hour warranty. So
and it's transferable?
It's transferable, yes, sir.
Should we revote?
Good. Move on to item 9. Thank you, Eric. Move on to item 9, discuss and consider amendment to the municipal code relating to the noise ordinance. Doug?
President and Council, before you this evening is an amendment to the noise ordinance that you adopted at the prior meeting. Based upon comments that the Council had and some concerns, there are several amendments that have been made by this ordinance. Specifically with respect to 3 businesses' operations within our city limits that there was significant concern about with the noise regulations in place, whether these businesses would be able to operate without violating the ordinance. And those concerns were the 81 Speedway, the Jeeps motorcycle facility, and the Highway Patrol shooting range. This ordinance specifically accepts those 3 entities from the noise regulations when they're operating between the hours of 8 o'clock and 10 p.m. Now, the 8 o'clock to 10 p.m. is something that I put in there. If that's still a problem, that certainly could be tweaked. That seemed like it was reasonable, and from what I understood, that covered the operations of the Speedway and I think certainly the shooting range and Jeeps. Another amendment that I made to the ordinance that was adopted last meeting was to that shows up in section 8-1201, and there were several specific noises listed there that I have deleted from the ordinance. This was an ordinance that I took from another entity that I thought was short, sweet, and to the point, and effective. And in going over it again and in some of the discussions that Council had, I think numbers 2, 3, 4, and 5 are really antiquated. They also bring in some subjectivity, and I think the whole purpose of this noise ordinance is to be as objective as possible. In the future, when we're going out to determine our code enforcement people whether there are violations, they're going to be using decibel meters, and it's going to be real objective. There's a measurement, and there's a specific decibel level, and if that meets the level that's prohibited, then there's a violation. This was eliminating steam whistles. I'm not sure we've had them in the city for several years, if we ever did. Exhaust or steam engines, again, I think that's kind of an old noise that we don't have. And then there was a description of motor vehicles that made loud noises. I've talked to the chief, and I think that there are ample regulations in the standard traffic ordinance to address loud mufflers, jake brakes, those sorts of noises that motor vehicles might generate. And then finally, peddlers and hawkers, again, that's an old term. It may cover with people going door to door in our community, but as far as I know, we've never had a problem with people yelling about their pots and pans and their wares. So that was eliminated. And then finally, there are two sections at the end that I made just a tiny change to, and that's because of the way I eliminated subsections in 8.1201. And so in the last two sections, 1205 and 1206, there's a reference to subsection B, and it was subsection B1. That's the ability to get a permit, and the standards for that sort of a permit to have amplified sound. And the reference was just a wrong reference, and so I had to delete the subsection 1, and now it's just 8.1201 subsection B that allows a permit to be granted by the City Council for somebody who wishes to use sound amplification. And so those were the changes made. I would be glad to answer any questions if there are any remaining concerns about the existing noise ordinance.
John?
I don't have any questions. I appreciate you diving into that and kind of tweaking it for us, but also allowing what we did last week to get that going. So I would make a motion to approve ordinance number 1089-2020, amending sections 8-1201, 8-1204, 8-1205, and 8-1206 of the municipal code relating to prohibiting loud and unnecessary noises and establishing exceptions to that prohibition.
Ben?
Yeah, second that for comment here.
Okay.
I do want to say thank you, Doug, for going back and working through that there. I think one of the benefits that we have when we have these presented and have the opportunity for discussion is it allows us to work through those. And I said I think sometimes when we can do these without having to go back and make the corrections, just simply by having a discussion, I think that sometimes alleviates some of the problems there coming back there. I also want to say, though, in addition to the thank you to Doug, I received an email from a resident and business owner in Park City here yesterday concerning the issue of the noise ordinance, and I want to say this correctly there. The individual that's been mentioned, or the business that's been mentioned each time that the noise ordinance has come up, and that individual's been here each meeting, has not said anything, but has been here consistently listening to the concerns of the people that have had the noise ordinance, has taken some of the brunt of the comments directed towards that. This individual that emailed me concerning that had nothing but praise for that business that has now gone in there, that location on 45th and Hydraulic, stating just even to the fact that now it appears that there's being a berm built there of dirt to help deflect some of the sound and noise that might cause problems. And so to the person here, to the individual that has heard those comments from the concerns of citizens there, thank you for taking the time to address those as best you can as a citizen. And thank you for being here consistently to get that feedback and then to act upon that.
Brandy?
I just have a question. So in regards to the email you got, I think probably most of us got that same email. But in there it talked about there was just one incident, and I know there were several citizens here that said there was multiple incidents. And I would just want the record to reflect, whether there's one incident, multiple incidents. Chief, do you happen to have any numbers that you could provide us as far as is there multiple incidents? Is there just one incident?
Yes, I do. We received the first complaints in June of last year. All the complaints were from June through December of last year. There were 6 different dates that we had citizens call 911 and make complaints about noise. 4 of those, it was 1 call per night. One night there were 4 calls that were received, and then one night we had 2 calls. That would be separate times that we had to go back.
Thank you. I just want the record to reflect that, how many times that it has been an issue. And I think we did a good job getting this ordinance passed to make it, the citizens, happy.
Don't see any more lights on, so this is a roll call vote. Marlo?
John Lanier.
Aye.
George Glover.
Aye.
Ben Saucetta.
Aye.
Melvin Kerr.
Aye.
Tom Jones.
Aye.
George Capps.
Aye.
Brandy Bailey.
Aye.
Jim Schrader.
Thank you. Item 10, discuss and consider scheduling a special workshop to evaluate alternatives to the construction of 61st Street and Broadway intersection. Sean?
Yes, sir. As council is well aware, we've been working with WSP for alternatives for 61st and Broadway. We've had 2 special workshops previously to this. At the last workshop, council requested that they come back with additional information, providing us 2 more options. One option was to take a standard roundabout and make it the largest circumference that would fit there logically, see if they could expand that to where it'd be safer for trucks to go through. And then the other option was adding a through lane going northbound Broadway to eastbound 63rd. WSP should be complete with their information here within the next week, and so we would like to schedule another workshop the hour before regular council on February 25th, so at 6 o'clock.
Brandy?
Do we think an hour will be enough before council meeting?
I do, ma'am, because council has already been through most of the data. They're familiar with it. We're not going through all the various different levels of service. We're just going to have the 2 additional options outlined, so they'll have the total cost of construction as well as how it would affect the level of service. Okay. So I think so.
Okay. If you're confident that that's plenty of time, then I move to approve scheduling a special workshop to discuss alternatives for the construction of 61st Street North and Broadway intersection on February 25th, 2020 at 6 p.m.
Ben?
Second.
Did you have a question, or you can do you have it lit up before?
Oh, no, I was just going to second it.
Okay. We've got a motion and a second. I don't see any other discussion, so all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Seeing none. Okay. Governing body reports. I don't have anything tonight. Mayor's with his parents, so busy. Brandy?
I just want to say, if you guys haven't been out to watch the Wichita Wings, they're a great addition back to the city of Park City, and it's a good time out there, so I'd encourage everybody to go out and watch them and support them.
George?
I don't know.
I'm good.
Yeah, I want to wish my wife a very happy Valentine's Day a couple days early if she's watching. If not, I'll tell her I said it later and she can go back and watch it. But also, this Saturday I'll be having my Convos event on Saturday, 9:30, Daylight Donuts. I encourage you to come on out. Just love to have a conversation with y'all. And I believe that's all I have.
George?
No, I don't have anything.
John?
I have nothing. I would make a motion, we adjourn.
I do have a question that I need to ask Sean. At the beginning, I
Second
believe
for
by
discussion?
the roll call. Are we good with that?
Yes, sir. Let the record reflect that Councilmember Schrader was unable to attend tonight as well.
I was trying to figure out whether the camera was running and watch you and everything else, and I just went by it, so.
We're good, sir.
We have a motion, and do we have a second?
Second.
Ben, okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you.